Hello, hello, and welcome to Crime and Court. So this is just going to be a one-off kind of story. I found this article and I thought it would be kind of interesting to share with you guys. So it is celebrities whose family members were unalived. So we're going to go down the list and see who had this unfortunate experience and go over some of the details. So this article was published August 22nd, 2023, or updated, I should say, by Asher Cantrell, and this is on grunge.com. All right, so to quote wise anthropomorphic woodland animal Rocket Raccoon, everyone's got dead people. There are few people living today who haven't experienced some kind of major loss in their lives, and if you haven't, just give it time. Well, that's morbid, but it's true. All right, so I would have said, consider yourself lucky. So everyone has to go eventually, but there's a particular sadness to losing someone to violence. Not only did the victim's loved ones lose them, but there's the additional grief of knowing that their family member was taken from them due to another person's actions. You might have experienced this yourself, or you know someone who has, and it's a very difficult form of grief and other causes of pain and suffering. All right. So, any celebrities are just like us, just like Us Magazine says. Celebrities are just like us. They have tragic things happening to them too. Some of them have lost the closest to them in tragic, horrifying ways. Dealing with the loss of an unalived family member is something that can happen to any one of us, and it's as is the case for celebrities. So I did want to point out, I had a while back put on my channel, if you or someone you know has encountered some kind of true crime experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be, unaliving, but I mean, it could be that too. Or maybe you knew someone in the neighborhood that did, those kinds of stories I'm looking for. So if anybody wants to submit stories to me and have me present them on air, I would love to read it in your own words. It would be real true crime encounters coming from everyday ordinary people, not celebrities. So if you have any stories that you would like to share with me, please write me at crimeandcourtchannel@gmail.com, and that's all spelled out, crime and spelled out court channel at gmail.com. Any of your true crime encounters that you would like to share. All right, and before we get started, before I forget, because I always forget and I just tell you at the end, please like this video, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube-y things. It really helps with algorithms and helps others find my content and helps you find content that's going to benefit you, or stuff that is going to be interesting to you. All right, so moving on to our article, Kelsey Grammer has had 2 family members unalived. Some of these are awful. I mean, and it's just, you get like this brief little snippet, but I think it's interesting. All right, so iconic comedy actor Kelsey Grammer is best known for his most famous character, psychiatrist Frasier Crane. Grammer himself, though, could have likely used some advice from someone like Frasier when he was young, because both his father and his sister were unalived in 2 separate incidents. My tongue did not want to work there. Incidents just a few years apart, according to 9 News. Grammer's parents divorced when he was a boy, and he was just barely a teenager when his father, then living with a second wife, was unalived by a stranger outside of his home. That's awful. All right, so Grammer's father, Frank, heard noises outside his home and went out to take a look. When he did, he found a man later identified as Arthur B. Niles. Interesting, because wasn't one of the characters on the show called Niles? So Arthur B. Niles setting fire to a car. So Niles then shot Frank twice, ending his life. Niles was later apprehended, but was found not guilty by reason of insanity. I never watched that show, but isn't Niles the name of the other guy on the show? I don't know. Tell me in the comments below, because I don't remember. I never really watched it, so I don't know. Anyways, so a mere 5 years later, after he lost his dad, when Grammer was 20, his 18-year-old sister Karen was abducted, and her life was ended by a serial life ender named Freddie Glenn. He and his 2 accomplices were eventually captured, and Glenn was sentenced to also end his life. Later commuted to just life in prison then. The tragic deaths in Grammer's life didn't stop there, though. Oh my God. 5 years after Karen's unaliving, Grammer's 2 half-brothers, Billy and Stephen, both of their lives ended in a scuba accident when one failed to resurface and the other lost his life from an air embolism when he was going back down to look for the brother. How tragic and sad is that? That's awful. All right, Charlize Theron. I don't know, am I saying that right? Charlize Theron. So her father was unalived by her mother. All right, so Charlize Theron makes a name for herself these days by being a total badass in a variety of movies, cementing herself as a bona fide action star in addition to winning Oscars for her dramatic performances and critical acclaim for her comedy roles. But as a young girl growing up in South Africa, Charlize and her mother, Gerda, were terrorized by her alcoholic father, Charles Theron, according to Today. When Charlize and Gerda had experienced DV from Charles in the past, June 21, 1991 was the breaking point. Charles had drunkenly threatened his family and even produced a handgun, firing it at Charlize and Gerda, missing both of them. Thank goodness he was drunk and probably saw 3 of them. In fear, Gerda fled into another room and retrieved yet another handgun, with which she returned fire at Charles, striking and ending his life. When South African authorities investigated the shooting, they declared Charles' unaliving a justifiable use of self-defense. Why do we not have that justifiable use of self-defense as like a legal term? I mean, I know we use self-defense, but I like that. Alright, so no charges were ever filed against Gerda. Charlize, only 15 at the time, began telling people that her father ended in a car accident, so she didn't have to tell them the real story, which I don't blame her for that. But as she's gotten older, she's become far more open to talking about it, saying, quote, "I'm not ashamed to talk about it because I do think that the more we talk about these things, the more we realize we are not alone in any of it," end quote. And that is excellent. We need to shine a light on these things. That's why I started this channel, because I want to shine a light on the things that people don't want to talk about. So if you or someone you know is dealing with DV, you can call the National DV hotline at this number right here, 1-800-799-7233. You can also find more information, resources, and support at the National DV Hotline website. All right, this is an important message that we all should be reminded of. All right, this is sad too. Michael Jordan's father was ended at the height of Jordan's popularity. So in the 1990s, Chicago Bulls were legendary, and center stage in the franchise was Michael Jordan, not one of, but in my opinion, the greatest ever of all time. Uh, People still talk about the amazing circumstances behind the team's rise to fame, as you might have seen if you've watched The Last Dance, which also, amazing documentary. Thought it was great. All right, but there is one part of it that's not, it's on Netflix, by the way, if you want to watch The Last Dance. I think it might be available other places now too, but I know it's on Netflix. That's at least where I watched it. But that was years ago. All right, but there is one part of it that's not talked about quite so much, Jordan's career. Around July 23, 1993, Michael Jordan's father, James Jordan, suddenly went missing, according to the New York Times. In fact, it wasn't until the following month that he was finally found. First, his red Lexus was discovered near Fayetteville, North Carolina. Odd, because they're from, well, I don't know where is Jordan from? Is he from Carolina, North Carolina? Anyways, not long after, authorities located James's body, which was badly decomposed, in a swampy area some 60 miles away from Fayetteville. 60 miles away from his car? Yeah. His body was found 60 miles away from his car in some swampy area. The loss of his father shocked Michael and directly led to his first NBA retirement 2 months later. According to authorities, James Jordan parked his car alongside a highway while traveling through North Carolina to take a nap. Yeah, I don't know. Were they from North? They did. Okay. I need to find this out now. What was he doing in North Carolina? Yeah, North Carolina. Sorry, I'm looking it up. Is he from there? Do they have family in North Carolina? Where was Jordan born? Brooklyn. So I don't know. Jordan was born in Brooklyn. I don't know what he was doing in North Carolina. All right, so two men, sorry, I wanted to look that up. All right, so two men, Daniel Green and Larry Demeray, found him still asleep and intended to tie him up and steal his vehicle. Things went wrong, however, and one of the two shot Jordan, ending his life. While the official story is that the incident was a carjacking gone wrong, there are numerous conspiracy theories about James Jordan's unaliving, including that the unaliving was related to Michael Jordan's excessive gambling debts. That is potentially a possibility. I don't know. I do not know. Jennifer Hudson had 3 family members unalived on the same day. Awful, awful, awful. What I want to say about Jordan too, like, he was super close with his dad. His dad was his everything, his inspiration to keep going and to do, well at his sport. So to me, that was tragic when James Jordan was found. All right, so Jennifer Hudson, 3 family members unalived on the same day. Actress and singer Jennifer Hudson, her career... I don't know what's going on, but the dogs are barking. Crazy stuff. Sorry. Didn't want to blow out your eardrums with my barking dogs. So, she had just released her new album. She was just beginning her career in 2008. A huge hit, despite her loss on American Idol a few years later. She had released a huge hit. She'd won an Oscar for her role in Dreamgirls. She had nowhere to go but up. And then on October 24th, 2008, Hudson received a tremendous personal blow when her mother, Darnell Donnerson, her brother, Jason Hudson, were both found unalive in their Chicago home, according to ThoughtCo. I remember when this happened, and it was big news in this area. All right, so her nephew, 7-year-old Julian King, son of Jennifer's son, Julia, was missing and presumed kidnapped. However, police found the boy's body 3 days later. He had also been shot. Chicago police arrested William Balfour, Julia's estranged husband, for the crimes and found that he had threatened to end Julia's family on a number of previous occasions. So, Jennifer's sister, Julia, her ex-husband, ends the mother, the brother, and the nephew. Awful. All right. They were heard arguing previous occasions. Balfour was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Meanwhile, Jennifer ceased all public appearances until the following year. She and Julia also started the Hudson King Foundation for the Families of Slain Victims, a charity to support the families of unaliving victims, as reported by People. After taking time to grieve, Jennifer returned to her career, putting out 2 more successful albums and continued to garner awards for her performances in music and acting. All right, here is Venus and Serena Williams had another sister. I did not know this. Venus and Serena Williams are household names due to their legendary tennis abilities, but while they're the 2 famous sisters, they also have several other siblings who aren't quite so famous. The oldest of these was the duo half-sister Yetunde Price. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I hope so. Who was also raised in Los Angeles. Sadly, LA has a bit of history of gang violence, especially in the suburb of Compton. On September 14th, 2003, Price and her boyfriend, Roland Wormley, were driving through Compton, according to the Australian Broadcasting Company. When the pair parked outside of a local illegal substance house, they caught the attention of 2 members of the Southside Crips, Robert Edward Maxfield and Aaron Michael Hammer, who were standing watch outside. Maxfield was carrying an assault rifle, which he fired at the parked car. But why? Just because? Wormley drove away, not knowing that Price had been struck in the back of the head by one of the rounds. He drove to a nearby relative's house and stopped there to call 911, but it was too late. Price was declared unalive shortly after arriving at the hospital. Initially, there were just rumors that the 2 had stopped to buy illicit drugs, but this was later found to be incorrect. They were innocent people that the gang members mistook for members of a rival gang. That's sad. Also, all right. Ice Cube's sister was unalived when he was a child. Did not know that either. Ice Cube is either a rapper/actor or actor/rapper. He's one of those slashies. Depending on who you ask. Regardless, he's quite popular in both fields. In 1981, Cube was only 12 years old, and his half-sister, Beverly Jean Brown, was 10 years old, 10 years his senior. Sorry. She's 22. She was married, and she had married a man named Carl Clifford Brown, whom Ice Cube had described in interviews as a wannabe cop who couldn't cope with the rejection from the Los Angeles Police Department. He became abusive to Beverly, and on June 29, 1981, things reached to a boiling point. According to the book Original Gangsters, Carl took Beverly hostage in their home. LAPD officers surrounded the home but were unable to get inside before Carl shot and ended Beverly's life. it seems Carl planned on a unaliving / self-unaliving, but botched things, only managing to injure himself. Well, good. He lost his life less than a month later. All right. So Ice Cube has said that he thinks about this, his sister, a lot, and has talked openly about how the incident affected his views on violence in America regarding GUNs, and how the factors that contributed to his sister's unaliving are still prominent today, saying in a HuffPost interview that, quote, "America is built on the gun. America is in love with the gun. It's a sick love affair, but it's just hard to break." Again, as a reminder, if you or anyone you know is suffering from DV, please call their hotline. All right, Roman Polanski's wife was ended by the Charles Manson's cult. So director Roman Polanski and actress Sharon Tate were the Hollywood dream couple when they married in the 1960s. Look at the two of them. They look pretty Hollywood glamorous. Look at his cravat. All right, so tragedy, however, came knocking in the form of a cult leader named Charles Manson and his family. On August 8th, 1969, several members of the Manson family, but not even Manson himself, because he wasn't the heavy lifter, he sent people to do things for him, the Manson family intruded into the home in Los Angeles of where Polanski and Tate lived together. They rented, I guess. Polanski was out of town on work, but Tate was home with 3 guests. She had a hairstylist, Jay Sebring, aspiring screenwriter Wojtek Frykowski, and heir to the Folger coffee fortune, and Frykowski's girlfriend, Abigail Folger. Also present were the home's caretaker, William Garretson, who lived on the premises, and his friend, Stephen Parent. Manson's followers brutally ended all but Garretson, who stayed inside his residence and didn't hear anything outside because he was listening to loud music. All right, then. This was the unaliving that brought Manson and his followers into the spotlight, especially after their repeated endings of people the following night. They committed more unalivings. The crimes would be collectively known as the Tate LaBianca life-ending enders. Endings, I don't know. Anyways, what did they have against Polanski or Tate? Nothing, it turns out. A record producer that Manson felt had snubbed him, Terry Melcher, had lived there in the past. It's debated whether he didn't know Melcher had moved or not. Maybe he just selected the house because he had seen it before. All right, so 90s guitar legend Dave Navarro's mother was unalived. One of the most influential guitarists of the past 30 years. I don't know about that, but okay. Maybe. Dave Navarro, one of the founding members of Jane's Addiction, he briefly replaced John Frusciante, I have no idea how to say that, in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and also had the dubious honor of being one of the few people kicked out of that band for doing too many legal substances. And later he married Carmen Electra in a very public reality TV relationship thing that they had going on, and it didn't last long. But in 1983, just a few years before Jane's Addiction made Navarro world famous, his mother, Connie Navarro, had her life ended at her home alongside her friend Sue Jory, according to the New York Times. Dave was only 15 at the time and has gone on record saying that he believes he would have been ended that night as well, if not for the last-minute schedule swap, which led to him staying at his father's house. That's effed up. Ooh, I get chills. Okay, so Connie Navarro and Sue Jory's unalivings actually went free for actually went free for nearly a decade until the story was featured on America's Most Wanted in 1991. A viewer tip led police to arrest John Riccardi, Connie Navarro's ex-boyfriend. He was subsequently convicted and sentenced to have his life ended, later changed to life without parole. Navarro made a documentary about the unaliving in 2015 called Morning Sun, which includes an off-camera visit to Riccardi in prison. I did not know that. That is interesting. Navarro described the meeting as awkward and said of Riccardi, "He's just some old dude dying in jail." DJ Khaled? I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't listen to rap. I have no idea. I think that's his name. Don't make fun of me. All right, so this DJ guy, his brother-in-law, had his life ended during a Super Bowl party break-in. So starting his career as a music store employee, moving up to radio DJ gig, and finally transforming into a rap superstar, DJ Khaled has truly worked his way up the ladder in the music industry, even becoming a meme. Congratulations, you played yourself along the way. All right, but along his rise to the top, Khaled and his family have encountered tragedy. Just months before he married his wife, Nicole Tuck, her brother Jonathan was ended during a break-in at an apartment that he was visiting in the Bronx on February 4th, 2018, according to Vibe. While initial reports claimed that the apartment was the home of a substance dealer and that Tuck had been there buying substances, thus leading to headlines declaring that his unaliving was part of a substance deal gone wrong. This has been called into question, with later reports saying that he wasn't involved and was just visiting the occupant to watch the Super Bowl game. Regardless, during the game, a man named Richard Jimenez burst in and attempted to rob the apartment's owner. Reportedly, Jimenez intended to strike Tuck with the butt of his gun, but the weapon went off by mistake, ending his life. A year later, Nicole Tuck later wrote a letter to the federal judge overseeing Jimenez's case, asking for the harshest sentence possible, according to People. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Yikes. All right. Omarosa lost 2 family members. She was on what was that show with Trump? The Apprentice. The Apprentice. That's what she became famous for, if anybody doesn't know who she is. So reality TV star and brief presidential assistant Omarosa, I don't know how to say that, Newton, is known for her shrewdness and aggressive approach to business. While the popular narrative, influenced by the producers of the shows on which she has appeared, is that she's cruel and villainous, it is worth considering that some of this demeanor might be tied to trauma that Omarosa experienced as a child. Specifically, her father, Jack Thomas Menegault, his life was ended in 1981 when Omarosa was only 7. While details are hard to come by today, 40 years later, Omarosa has spoken about her father's life ending and how it had a profound impact on her life, crediting the early trauma with her own personal growth in spite of the hardship. But even after America was introduced to Omarosa on the NBC's The Apprentice in 2004, it seems that the universe wasn't done with her. In 2011, her brother Jack Minault, named after their father, was unalived as he slept. According to Radar Online, he had recently begun dating a woman whose name has not been publicly released and was staying with her when the two were attacked by the boyfriend. Her ex-boyfriend, Marco Cardenas? Sure. I don't know. and ended Manigault. Manigault's girlfriend survived the ordeal, and Cardenas was later sentenced to 21 years to life. Sofia Vergara's brother was ended in a failed kidnapping. That's terrible. Alright, so Sofia is one of the highest paid television actresses around, but even before she became a superstar in the film and television industries, Vergara was already doing well for herself. You see, in Colombia, Vergara's home country, her family was already wealthy, according to 9 News. In fact, Vergara's family was so well off in Colombia that her older brother, Rafael, actually kept bodyguards around him at all times, since his position in the family made him a constant target. This ended up directly leading to tragedy. However, in 1998, before Sofia emigrated to the U.S., Rafael went without his bodyguards for just 1 day. Unfortunately, kidnappers seized the opportunity and tried to abduct him. It's not clear exactly what happened, but the attempt failed with one of the would-be kidnappers shot and ended Rafael's life. As a direct result of this loss, Sofia came to Miami along with other family members attempting to begin anew. Within a few years, Sofia was being regularly cast in film roles, and her star only rose from there. Family troubles were still a sore spot, however, as her younger brother Julio, who came with her from Colombia, was deported from the United States due to numerous substance-related arrests. This Chuck guy, his father's life began and ended with unaliving. So Chuck, the author of Fight Club, I have no idea, Palahniuk, let's call him Chuck, who is the author of Fight Club, isn't shy about grisly stories as evidenced by the novels in his bibliography. Chuck himself has credited a traumatic incident in his own life for inspiring at least some of his work. The 1999 unaliving of his father, Fred. So not only before the release of the cult classic film adaptation of Fight Club, Fred and a woman that he had been dating, Donna Fontaine, were ended by Fontaine's ex-husband, Dale Shackelford, who shot them and burned their bodies outside of Fontaine's apartment, according to the Moscow Pullman Daily News. What? That's in Idaho, where the Idaho 4 is, Moscow Pullman. Alright, so sadly, this wasn't the first time that Chuck's family encountered unaliving. Early in his life, Chuck has always been told of his grandparents how his life ended from diphtheria. When he turned 18, his father told him the chilling truth. When Fred was 3 years old, he had hid under a bed while his own father ended his mother with a gun and then went looking through the house for young Fred. When he was unable to find Fred, he turned the gun on himself. Oh my God, that's awful. In an interview with Rolling Stone, Chuck remarked on the eerie symmetry of his father's first memories being a man with a gun, followed decades later by another man with a gun, ending his life. Crazy, crazy, crazy. That story, I think, hit me the most. I don't know. What do you guys think about those stories? Those were interesting, huh? I didn't know about a lot of them. I knew about the Michael Jordan. I knew about the, what one? What's her face? Jennifer Hudson, because that was local. That was Chicago. And I think I knew about Charlize Theron, but I forgot it. So it's like one of those things that you know when you forget. Anyways, I thought that was interesting and kind of just something different that we could watch or read, together as we spend some time together. Thank you so much for watching me. I really hope you liked it. If you have other ideas or other articles that you would like to share, other topics that you would like me to talk about, please feel free to add those in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. And I hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye.